Hello, it is I'm So Cutie, and today we are bringing you Sapphire Steel. This has been an amazing deck to test. It has been super fun. I built it in response to a lot of the rising decks in the meta, but it's been performing really well. So if anybody knows, the Fabled Q in Lord Kinito has reset. It reset once. I had about 90 games at about like 55% win rate. This was when I was testing things like Red Steel and such. Now that it's fully reset, I've been playing the deck I plan to be playing at CCS and other high contending decks like Blurple, Amethyst Steel, and Sapphire Steel. I'm currently at about 55 games, around 1750 to 1800 MMR, bouncing around due to testing, with like a 69 or 70% win rate, again bouncing around due to testing. Decks I'm not familiar with and kind of theory crafting, so I am performing pretty well with these decks. I would show like photos and things, but obviously there's policy to that. But let's just get right into it. This deck has been amazing. So again, I'm kind of in between like the top 125 to like 150-ish, 1800 MMR, just bouncing around due to testing. Meta shift number 1 that I talked about in the other video. So we have the Genie, the Scar, and the Hades that we're seeing in Blurple, Blue Steel, and Green Purple, and Green Steel. But now we're seeing another wave, right? We're seeing the mid-range. We're seeing Ruby Amethyst. We're seeing Amethyst Steel. We're seeing Red Steel. We're seeing things that can deal with these smaller boards and still quest out and then have full control of the game with things like Shark. So this is the second wave of the meta. So the meta is developing really quickly due to having an online client to be playing in. So it's super relevant that is, it is very relevant. These cards are still very relevant. Like Mari Shark did actually shut down a lot of my testing. But this is the list. This is the cookie cutter list that I'm running. I have made no changes. I've played probably about 15 to 20 games. And yeah, like this deck has gone unchanged. The only thing I would likely change is maybe a split with Dump Truck and Dock, or like Dump Truck numbers down, one Nala cut so I can fit 3 Docks. But this deck has just been super consistent. And let's just get right into all the cards. Could we see Doc? Could we see Lilo? And could we see Tinkerbell? Tinkerbell has been the #1 card in oppressing a lot of my decks. Purple Steel, Green Purple, Red Steel, and Blue Steel have all faced an issue about dealing with this Tinkerbell. I think Tinkerbell is going to be one of the best cards this set, and I think it is a must-run in a lot of decks. Tinkerbell has been doing really well. I couldn't really fit into it. I didn't want to use T-Bar Sale, so I stayed away from it. But yeah, Jasmine has been an incredible draw engine. If you roll her, it's like rolling Diablo. There's just not a lot that can get through her, and she is drawing and drawing. And then you get Savvy Sailor, and then all your stuff is just questing for like 6 a turn. Even if they're deciding to aggro you, as long as you control one of their cards, you're just questing for so much. I hit a chernadogs maybe 3 times, and it was the same thing. I was on the draw, and the Alice just allowed me to take over the game. It was pretty insane. Semi-lackluster. Dump Truck, nobody really plays 1 health characters, so he didn't come up, but he let me clean things up with Calhoun. And instead of being Fire the Cannons, he's still a body to quest. So he was only semi-lackluster, and he is uninkable, so that's why I would probably run him at 2 now. So maybe that'd be a change, but otherwise I just kind of missed him. He is an ally, so you're technically drawing him for free if you get the Jasmine engine. So the Jasmine engine was just so good. And then with Alice, he's just questing for 2. In like he came up a lot in like Ruby Amethyst. It was just like a warded guy that would quest the next turn. Because they don't have Sisu anymore, they don't have beat prep. Like, it is time to abuse the Savvy Sailor, right? Again, Mr. Arrow. Questing for 2 and resist, pretty good stats, but a lot of the time Alice was enough to just close out the games, and so he was a little lackluster in terms of like stat lines. I didn't really find him hitting into anything, so that's why I bumped Lilo up to 4 fully. At first she was at 2, so like the only real change I made was bumping her up to 4 over like a tech choice I had, so I made it like a super cookie cutter list, and this was almost immediately. That's why the deck really is just 4 across, right? But yeah, semi-lackluster. When he needed to just turn on the jets, he was there. So I wouldn't really cut him down, but he was whatever. I did enjoy him though. And again, he is an ally, so drawing him for free. Again, strength was really odd because a lot of the time you're just kind of dealing with board interactions. And with like ward and things, you're not really scared of getting hit back with strength. And it was kind of clogged because you didn't really have 3 cost drops. So it was a little odd. I don't know what else I would run, and there were times where I was like, okay, you're going to drop this guy, and I'm just going to snipe him because I have enough cheap drops and the Savvy Sailor to sing. So there's times where it worked, and there's times where it wasn't, and it was kind of odd. It kind of depends if you're on the play or on the draw. But overall, just know that this card is going to be a little bit more inkable in this archetype. Insane cards. Calhoun controls everything. It is crazy. This card, if you can fit it at 4, you kind of have to fit it at 4. It's been absolutely insane. Again, with Dump Truck cleaning things up, it's just a lot of pressure. It does not let people quest, and putting down the Mickey Mouse or the Jasmine, it's kind of just like playing chess. You let them take a pawn, and then your stronger unit takes out their pawn for free, and then nothing can contest your stronger piece, right? It's kind of just like a back and forth tug of war. So sometimes tapping for them to take it with a Captain Hook and then Calhoun to just eat it is just so good, and it always works out in the end of the game. Nala, questing for 3 with resist 1 is crazy, especially with the other Jasmines that give resist and remove damage, because sometimes they would just tap it with something that had like 2 attack, not fully clear it to stop it from questing. I would just remove the damage, give it ward, quest for 4 again. Super insane, super good. The only thing that sucks is that it is uninkable, but the deck is super cheap across the board. You always get it down. It doesn't clog the hand. This deck has been doing amazing at not clogging besides the strength. Savvy Sailor, I go on Dreamboard and I look at the most popular blue steel cards, and Alice is just so far down to the bottom, but she is so good, and I don't know why people don't play her. She's just not able to be contested. If you're making smart interactions, Savvy Sailor will always be almost always producing 3 for you. And it's just a good card. It protects whatever you drop fresh. Sometimes it was like questing so that the next thing would be fresh, so that no matter what, I would be able to milk out the last 2 lore of the game. In terms of them finally catching up and stabilizing, it wasn't close. It was like 1 to 20, right? But for them to stabilize, it means starting to run dry a little bit. So Savvy Sailor has just been amazing. Again, it also means your Jasmine in the like a mid-range kind of take can quest for 2 every time she draws the card. So it's a tanky Diablo that's a 4 cost that can draw a card and quest for 2. Yeah, as Savvy Sailor is so good. Continuing, Pluto. Again, when purple became super popular, bodyguards were the way to go. Bodyguards, purple cannot deal with bodyguards. They deal with smaller interactions and spreading damage. Pluto was just absolutely crazy. He will always absolutely be crazy. And one step above him, because Pluto is pretty self-explanatory, Bagheera is absolutely insane. And I know that this card is going to be a 4 of, and I know there's going to be a top deck running this card. He's an ally that you can draw into. He's a 4/3. He's going to trade into anything. He's going to spread 2 damage to everything. He's going to quest for 3 if Alice is there, and he's just such a good card. There was times where he was a little cloggy because I didn't find the Jasmine engine. So you had to ink it, but you have Pluto. You have Pluto as a safeguard, and if the game goes long enough, you have the Bagheera, and he is just checkmate. And if you have this, and then into this, and then they just have 9 damage back, and then 2 damage spread, you're doing like a total of like 20 damage to the entire board just having these 2 guys on board. It is just crazy. This deck is crazy. On the draw, it's just a little bit different, but on the play, it's like 100% win rate on the play, guys. It is crazy unless they super high roll into like a tank full wipe. Yeah, it's just been really good in testing. This is one of the on the plays. You kind of just go for the Kiwi line, right? We've seen it a million times. I say you keep the Pluto and Jasmine for tech choices. Pluto obviously to be the bodyguard, or the Jasmine to help the Calhoun trade into other Calhouns. But super simple, right? This one is really self-explanatory. The number 2 though is playing for that Jasmine line. Playing for the Jasmine line, having the Calhoun to punish, and then having a Captain Hook to spread the board out. Because now you're drawing cards, and you have things that punish everything that taps. And if they think they're tanky enough, you have the Lilo. So performing this board on turn 4, and then having it'd be turn 3, turn 4 Lilo with 3 people on board, and you're drawing cards. Super good. This is like your kind of like mid-range approach, and this is just crazy good. Pluto and Jasmine are kind of like iffy ones for me. Oh no, sorry, Jasmine is the for sure. Pluto was kind of like the iffy one, depending on what the matchup really is. This could be anything else. This could just really be ink. But these 5 across for sure. Obviously, these are perfect world mulligans, and you know what you're actually playing for with these mulligans. So the only one on the draw though is kind of really defensive. These 2 are techs here. This is what I was kind of thinking about with the last statement. You go 1-2 obviously to control the board. You have the dump truck to help the Calhoun clear anything tanky, or to help the Captain Hook clear anything tanky. The Jasmine to make trades favorable for these 2, and then you have the Lords on the top end for the strength. Similar to the Amethyst Steel deck list that we went through, the on the draw is always meant to try to punish up to 3 characters on board without losing any resources on your side. You're technically diving 4 cards for their 4 cards, but 3 of your characters are still alive and questing. So that's the biggest thing, and you don't actually struggle that much into lower end decks. Again, the only thing that I have found in all of my testing is Tinkerbell being an absolute huge problem. But I think that'll fix itself, and you just kind of have to play correctly. But that is something to really keep in mind. Again, the best build to further cultivate is definitely just this one. Straight up cookie cutter 4 for 4. Again, maybe I would do dump truck down to 2. Nala down to 3, and then 3 Doc possibly. Doc is an ally, so you still are drawing him, so you're not actually losing anything. Sticky Mickey has just been really good. You put Mickey proactively, and the Calhoun to punish. Again, think of it as playing chess. You're trading piece for piece. It looks like they're taking it for free, but you're actually getting 2 lore. So he's still questing, and then he's questing, but now your board is also favorable. So there's a lot of little math to go with it, but otherwise you kind of just turn off your brain and just quest like crazy. On the draw, again, depending on the matchup, gets a little bit different, but overall this deck has been performing really, really well. A majority of my games, a majority of like the last 20 games, no, like 15-ish games has been on this one. So I would say out of the last 15, I didn't really check it, I would say that this deck is easily above 60% win rate right now. Obviously, it is only best of 1. I would say that a majority of them were on the play, which is why this is just crazy. Because on the play, if you're absolutely winning 100% of the time, that is crazy. On the draw, I've still seen success, so I haven't given up on this deck. It's just performing really well. Again, Tinkerbell is the biggest problem. Otherwise, this deck is performing really well. The only other thing I can see going wrong is green-blue under the sea. Besides that, you know, I really hope that this one takes off just a little bit harder than the other decks. This deck is really good, and if you lose to it after I told you guys that this exists, you cannot come and blame me. So, thank you for tuning in again, and I'll see you for the next deck.